Hackers IELTS Speaking. Part 1.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason. Can you tell me your full name, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Soo Jung Lee.
Can you tell me where you're from?
I'm from Seoul.
Can I see your identification, please?
Sure.
Thank you. That's fine. Now, in this part of the test, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. First of all, are you a student or do you work?
I'm a student. I'm a senior at Hankuk University, and I will graduate soon.
Do you live in an apartment or a house?
I live in a studio apartment. It consists of a single room and has just enough space for a bed and a desk.
What do you like about your house or apartment?
First of all, my apartment is conveniently located. It's only about 3 minutes from the nearest bus stop.
What do you not like about your house or apartment?
I'm content with nearly everything about my apartment, except for my upstairs neighbor. He is so noisy. For instance,
Do you wear a watch?
No, not really. That's because I feel uncomfortable when I wear one. Besides, I carry my cell phone all the time so I can check the time on it.
Part 2.
Now, I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you are going to say, and you can make some notes if you want to. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Here's some paper and a pencil for making notes. And here's your topic. I'd like you to describe an old person you like. All right. Remember, you can talk for 1 to 2 minutes, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
The elderly person I like the most is my grandmother.
Thank you. When did you last see her?
A few days ago, I visited her since it was her birthday.
Thank you. May I have the task card paper and pencil back?
Sure. There are several old people I like, but my favorite is my grandmother. She is the nicest, most generous person. Also, she has such a great positive energy. We used to see each other every day because she lived next door. However, she moved to a new place recently, so we don't get to see each other as often these days. I like her for several reasons. First of all, she loves me unconditionally. No matter what I do, she understands me and cares about me. Besides, she has a good sense of humor. She tells me lots of funny stories, which always make me laugh. Part 3.
We've been talking about an old person you like, and now I'd like to discuss a few more general questions related to this. First, let's consider older and younger generations in general. What can old and young people learn from one another?
There are several things that they can learn from one another. First of all, younger generations can teach the elderly how to use new technologies. For example,
Why do you think young people have a better understanding of technology than old people?
well, I guess that's because...
Thank you. That's the end of the IELTS speaking test.
Thank you. Have a good day.
What can old and young people learn from one another?
They can adopt different attitudes from one another. For example, the older generation can learn to become more open-minded from young people. Sometimes old people can be stubborn. However, this can change if they learn to be more tolerant. On the other hand, the young can learn a sense of responsibility from older people. Young people often tend to behave carelessly, which can cause them problems. However, learning to be responsible can change their lives in positive ways.
What can old and young people learn from one another?
Younger generations can teach the elderly how to use new technologies. For example, they can show old people how to use a smartphone or set up a social networking account. On the other hand, young people can learn a lot from the wisdom of their elders. That's because old people have gained plenty of knowledge from their experiences in life that could help young people. Hackers IELTS Speaking Unit 1 Part 1
Are you a student or do you work?
I'm a student. More specifically, I'm a college student majoring in business management. I'll graduate next year.
Why did you choose your job?
Frankly speaking, because the pay was great. When I was in college, I took out a student loan. Therefore, being able to make a lot of money was a priority for me when choosing a job.
What is the best thing about your job?
What I like most about my job is that I get to work with such nice people. Even though I haven't been there long, they seem to really care for me. For example, when I have a struggle with work, they come to me and give me useful advice.
What do you not like about your job?
The only thing I don't like is that I am frequently expected to work overtime. Last week, for example, I had to work late 4 out of 5 days. The workload is simply too heavy.
Why did you choose your major?
I chose business management because I'm more likely to get hired with a degree in that field. These days, getting a job is a big concern for college students. Therefore, I wanted to invest my time and money in a major that would pay off.
What do you learn while studying your major?
I have to take courses in management theory, accounting, and business ethics. Since I'm majoring in business administration, I have to study a lot of varied subjects like those. I think that will give me the skills I need to get a job after graduation.
What are you going to do after graduation?
I'll be looking for a job most likely. However, if things don't work out, I will take a break and travel overseas. Since I've never been to Europe, I think that's probably where I'll be headed.
Do you prefer to study in the morning or in the afternoon?
My mind is usually clearer in the morning, so I prefer to study then. Also, by finishing all my assignments early, I free up my afternoons and evenings. I can spend that time meeting my friends, playing games, or doing sports. Part 2
There are many interesting jobs these days, but the first thing that comes to mind is writer. There are many types of writers, such as novelists and screenwriters. Both these types of writers produce creative work with their own ideas. Surprisingly, none of these writing jobs really requires a specific education. Some writers can make it with just natural talent. In Korea, however, many people study Korean literature or creative writing to be a writer. Whether they have formal education or natural talent, all writers must have observational skills and diverse experiences. I find writing to be a very interesting job for several reasons. First, the work of writers is widely read, so they can share their ideas and cause emotional reactions in so many people. I think writing is really special because most people don't get to do that. I also think it's great that they can work wherever and whenever they want to. Unlike most workers who work 9 to 5 in an office, writers can do their work anywhere at any time.
Part 3.
What kinds of jobs make lots of money?
There are several jobs that pay well. For one, professionals such as lawyers and doctors earn high salaries. This is because they have skills and knowledge that can only be picked up through long, difficult studies. Celebrities also earn significant amounts of money. Famous actors and singers often get paid millions of dollars just for appearing in an advertisement. That is a huge amount of money compared to the typical worker's wages.
What kind of jobs should be better paid?
I think that jobs in the service industry, such as server or retail clerk, should be better paid. This is because these jobs require working on holidays or over the weekend. Also, many of these jobs make people work long shifts in the evenings. Finally, servers and clerks have to handle customers' problems and demands. Therefore, they should be paid more than they currently are.
Part 2.
The company I would most like to work for is definitely Google. It has many different businesses, but it's most famous for its search engine. I've known about Google for many years, since its search engine is widely used throughout the world. However, I became better informed about it when I read an article about working there. It has incredibly high employee satisfaction rates and is considered one of the best places to work. After reading about the company's relaxed working conditions and employee benefits, I began thinking about applying for a job with Google. Then I started doing some research about Google, and I learned some things that made me want to work there more. First, its hiring process is very competitive. That means I'd work with the best of the best. Not only that, it has diverse perks. For example, it provides a massage room and a game room where employees can take a break, not to mention free meals.
Part 3.
What are the differences between big and small companies?
There are several differences between small and large companies. First, large companies pay their employees attractive salaries and offer them perks like paid vacation time. This is possible because larger companies generally have much more substantial budgets than smaller ones. Second, workers in small companies are more well-informed about the company. In big companies, there are many employees and projects, so it's hard for them to know about anything other than their own projects and the people on their team. On the other hand, employees in small companies are better informed about the company's overall projects, systems, and workers.
Why do some people choose to work at small companies?
I think some people work at small companies because there are lots of opportunities to expand their skills. In small companies, there are usually fewer staff members. This causes employees to take on multiple types of jobs. Therefore, I think working at a small company is a good option for those who like the challenge of learning new things.
Unit 2. Part 1.
Do you live in an apartment or a house?
I live in a studio apartment. It consists of a single room and has just enough space for a bed and a desk. Even though it's quite small, it's cozy and comfortable.
What do you like about your house or apartment?
Let's see. First of all, my apartment is conveniently located. It's only about 3 minutes from the nearest bus stop. Secondly, it is not only well lit, but it also has a great heating and cooling system. So, it's warm in the winter and cool in the summer.
What do you not like about your house or apartment?
I'm content with nearly everything about my apartment, except for my upstairs neighbor. He is so noisy. For instance, he sometimes practices guitar in the middle of the night. What's more, he plays loud music all the time at full volume.
What room in your house or apartment do you prefer most?
I like my bedroom the most. There are a lot of cushions in it, so it is really snug. Moreover, I've got a big TV hanging on the wall. I love to watch movies while lying in bed.
What can you see from the window of your house or apartment?
I can see other apartment buildings and the street from my window. There are also several shops directly across from my house. To be more specific, there is a florist, a small grocery store, and a laundry service.
How long have you been living there?
I've been living there for 2 years now. I moved to my apartment right after graduating from high school. That's because I had to find a new place near campus, since my university is really far from my parents' house.
Will you keep living there in the future?
To be honest, I have no idea. I don't have any plans to move right now. However, if I get a new job or get married, I might need to find an apartment somewhere else.
Do you want to live near your family when you get your own house?
Yes, I'd love to. Even after I get my own place, I want to stay near my family if I can. That's because I don't want to spend hours on the road whenever I visit my parents. Besides, if I lived near her house, my mom would bring me hot food from time to time. Part 2.
There are many important buildings in our town, but the 63 building comes to mind first. It is located in Yoido, overlooking the Han River. The closest subway station is Yoinaru Station, and it takes about 10 minutes on foot to get to the 63 building. As the name implies, the 63 building has 63 floors. It also has a unique exterior because it's covered in windows that are a golden yellow color. Due to its appearance, it's sometimes called the Golden Tower as well. The last time I visited the building was about a month ago. My sister and I went to one of its most popular facilities, the aquarium. We saw many different kinds of sea creatures, such as seals, dolphins, and penguins there. We also enjoyed the view of the city from the observatory on the building's top floor. The night view of Seoul was breathtakingly beautiful. The building is significant because it was the tallest building in Korea when it was built. Nowadays, the 63 building is one of the most famous buildings in Korea and acts as a landmark of Seoul. In fact, the building even represented the city in the world-famous movie The Avengers.
Part 3.
What are the differences between modern buildings and traditional buildings?
There are significant differences between modern and traditional buildings. First of all, their construction materials are very different. In the past, buildings were mostly built with natural materials like wood or soil. However, modern buildings are constructed with stronger, man-made materials, such as concrete and steel. Another difference between modern and traditional buildings is height. Buildings today are constructed to be taller than ever. You can see many more high-rise skyscrapers today than in the past.
Does a region's climate affect the way buildings are constructed?
Yes, it does influence the area's buildings. For example, in tropical areas where there is a lot of rainfall, buildings usually have sloped roofs. This helps water fall down more effectively. If the roofs were flat, rain would sit on the roof, and that would be problematic.
Part 2. My ideal future home would have to be very big because I've wanted to live in a large home with my whole family ever since I was young. It would have big windows too. That would let in tons of natural light and fresh air and help me to wake up in the morning. I also want to have a pool in the backyard so I could invite my friends over for pool parties. In addition, it should have a gorgeous garden where my mom could spend her time. Lastly, a large and cozy living room would be a must for our family quality time. I don't really care about the location as long as it's near the beach, but a city like Miami, Santa Barbara, or Busan would be great. As I mentioned earlier, I want my whole family, including my grandparents, to live there with me. Living with my extended family has always been my dream, and living in this house would make my dream come true. I'm sure my home would always be filled with laughter and joy. Part 3.
Do people prefer living in apartments or houses in your country? Why?
I think people in my country generally prefer to live in apartments. This is because apartment buildings usually have better security. For instance, there are CCTV cameras in every hallway of an apartment building. You can find guards on duty as well. Furthermore, modern apartment buildings are often equipped with various amenities, like pools, gyms, and convenience stores. Having these things in the complex makes life more convenient.
Some people prefer living in a small house to living in a big house. Why is that?
The specific reasons would be different from person to person, but I think people prefer smaller homes because they are far easier to maintain. They require much less time and effort to clean, and repairs are usually relatively minor. Also, smaller homes are less expensive. This makes them a much better choice for people who are on a budget. Unit 3. Part 1. Which region of your country do you live in?
I live in the northwestern part of South Korea, in Seoul, the country's capital. Even though it is just one of the many cities in Korea, almost 1/5 of the Korean population resides there. The city is divided by a river, and my apartment is in one of the districts north of it.
What are some good things about where you live?
Because I really like to watch plays, I love that there are so many theaters in my city. In addition, there is a giant baseball stadium downtown. Since all my friends and I are huge baseball fans, we are very glad to have it.
Is there anything you don't like about your city?
What I detest about my city is the traffic. I live in Seoul, where the congestion is very heavy at all times. Furthermore, traffic gets even worse on the weekend. I always get stressed out while driving.
Do you think the public transportation is good in your area?
I'm pretty satisfied with the public transportation in my area. It is quite reliable and fast, especially the subway system. Some people worry that the tickets are getting too expensive. However, I think they are rather cheap compared to the transportation services in other countries.
What things can people do in your area?
I live in an urban area, so there are many good places for attending various cultural events. For example, people can attend art exhibitions and concerts in various areas. Insadong, for instance, is a district in my city that is famous for having many traditional art galleries and shows.
Tell me about your hometown.
My hometown is Busan, which is the largest port city in Korea. It is located on the south end of the Korean peninsula. Not only does it have many skyscrapers, but it also has a number of great beaches.
Is your hometown a good place to be raised?
I think so. It has lots of places where kids can play and learn. For example, my father used to take me to the beach every Sunday to teach me how to swim. In addition, there was a big aquarium near my home, and I enjoyed watching exotic sea creatures every now and then.
Do you want to live in the countryside when you get old?
I don't think that would be a good idea. Since I have never lived in the countryside before, I'd have to learn a lot of things if I moved there. Besides, learning new things gets harder with age, so it would be very difficult for me to adjust.
Part 2.
There are many great places to go in my city, but my favorite one is the public library. It is located near my house. In fact, it only takes 5 minutes by bus to get there. Since it is located right next to the bus stop, I don't have to walk for very long. I go there every Saturday. Sometimes I also visit during the week when I need books to refer to for my work. Whenever I visit, I return books that I have finished reading and borrow some more. I can take out books for free as long as I'm a resident of my city. They'll even let me watch VODs in the computer room. There are many reasons why the public library is my favorite place. First, it's quiet. As you know, it's hard to find anywhere to relax when you live in a city. However, in the library, I can rest or study without being distracted by noise. Also, I can read many books. I'm a bookworm and reading is my favorite hobby. Being able to read many different kinds of books for free is great for me.
Part 3.
Do you think there should be more places to enjoy leisure activities in cities?
Not really. It seems there are already a number of areas to enjoy leisure activities. For example, like any large city, Seoul has tons of gyms, libraries, theaters, and shopping centers. These are all great for people looking for things to do. Of course, it would be great if we had even more leisure facilities, but I don't think that is essential.
Do you think leisure facilities should be free for the public?
I know that people have a lot of different opinions about this, but I think recreation centers should be made available to the public without charge. This is because these places make people healthier and happier in general. A lot of people these days don't get enough rest due to their heavy workloads. However, if leisure facilities were offered for free, people would visit them more, and it would result in their enhanced mental and physical health.
Part 2. My neighborhood is Jongno, which is located in northern Seoul. There are many things I like about my neighborhood, but what I enjoy most is walking in the local park. I take a walk there almost every day after dinner. It is also a good place to play badminton with my friends. For the most part, I'm happy with my neighborhood, but there are a few things I don't like about it. One of these is the parking problem. Since it's a very popular area, there are never enough places to leave your car. Another issue is the cost. My neighborhood's popularity makes it an expensive place to live. In particular, real estate rental fees are outrageously high. Despite these downsides, I love my neighborhood for several reasons. First, there are many great leisure facilities nearby. For example, parks and gyms are easily accessible. Second, it has excellent public transportation. The subway station is very close to my home. It's only about a 10-minute walk from my front door, which is very convenient for me. Part 3.
What are the differences between life in the countryside and life in the city?
One major difference is that city life is more convenient. Cities have public transportation and retail outlets all over the place, so it is easy to get around and buy whatever you need. Unfortunately, these things aren't as accessible in the countryside. However, people who live in rural areas often enjoy more peaceful and healthier lives. This is because the air outside of cities is much cleaner and there is a lot less noise.
What sorts of problems do most cities have?
Cities face many different kinds of problems, but I think the biggest concern is overcrowding. This is a huge problem because it causes traffic jams as well as discomfort for people who have to commute using public transportation. In addition, overcrowding causes severe housing problems. It especially makes real estate prices skyrocket. Unit 4. Part 1.
What kind of songs do you like to sing?
I like merry and cheerful songs the best. That's because it's so fun to sing them with my friends at karaoke. More specifically, I love the ones with silly lyrics or catchy melodies.
Did you learn to sing when you were a child?
Not really. Although I sang songs during music classes in elementary school, the teachers never really taught us how to sing. However, I wish my teacher did, because I love to sing.
Do people in your country like to sing? Why?
I think Koreans really do. For instance, there are a lot of karaoke businesses in the country, and people of all ages love to go there. Besides, these days, many people take vocal training courses even when they don't plan to become professional singers.
Do you like dancing?
Yes, I like to dance. Even though I do not know many dances, I have several moves that never fail to impress my friends. So whenever I have the chance, I perform my robot dance routine.
When do people usually dance in your country?
Koreans mostly dance when they are partying. Young people like to go to clubs to party, and they usually dance to hip-hop or electronic music while there. In addition, Koreans also dance whenever there is a talent show.
Do you collect anything?
I collect coins from different countries. I started doing this because I love to travel overseas. So far, I have collected coins from several European and Asian countries, including France, Spain, Italy, Thailand, China, and Japan.
Why do you collect them?
I collect them because they remind me of good memories. For example, when I see the coins that I collected from various countries, I recall my experiences traveling to each of them. Also, all of them have unique designs, so I enjoy looking at them.
What do you do when you get stressed out?
Whenever I get stressed out, I like to discuss my problems with my friends. I talk about my feelings, and they listen to me carefully. Sometimes, they give me advice on how to deal with my situation, too.
Part 2.
When I have free time, I often go jogging with my jogging club. We jog for a couple of hours and then have dinner together afterwards. While we jog, we constantly cheer each other on. When I jog, I use several different jogging courses. However, my favorites are the ones along the Han River and the Cheonggye Stream. I can feel the breeze when I run along these bodies of water, and it feels great. It has been 2 years since I started jogging, and I've enjoyed every single minute of it. There are a couple of reasons why I do this when I have free time. First, although the activity itself is exhausting, my body feels much lighter after I jog. Also, it seems to have made me healthier. I haven't caught a cold or had a headache since I started jogging. Moreover, I've made many friends in my jogging club. We get together often to buy sportswear and to just hang out.
Part 3.
What are the benefits of having free time?
There are tons of advantages to enjoying free time. For one, free time significantly reduces stress. Free time allows people to spend time doing the things they enjoy, which helps relieve stress and anxiety. In addition, it gives you the opportunity to recharge. This clears your head and allows you to focus better, which makes you more productive in the long run.
Are there any differences between how we spend our free time now and how we spent it previously?
Yes, we spend our free time differently now than we did in the past. The biggest difference is that modern people stay home more now than in the past due to technological development. For example, nowadays people seem to stay home watching YouTube videos, listening to music, or surfing the internet on their smartphones. But in the past, they went out to play sports or to stroll.
Part 2. There are many movies that I like, but my all-time favorite is Home Alone, which is a holiday comedy and action movie. It's about a young boy named Kevin. On Christmas, his family accidentally forgets him when they leave for their Christmas vacation. Then, he is put in a situation where he has to defend the house against 2 thieves. I have watched this movie at least 10 times because I have watched it every Christmas since I was young. There are several reasons that I love this movie the most. First, it's good for a laugh. I like movies that make me laugh without thinking too seriously. In this movie, there are no hidden serious messages. It's just fun to watch with a relaxed mind. Also, the actors' performances are great. The actor who plays Kevin is really good at acting, despite his young age. In addition, the performances by the supporting actors, the thieves, are so realistic that they really seem like bad guys. Part 3.
What movie genre do people in your country enjoy most?
Individual preferences differ from person to person, but I think the most popular genre overall is comedy. This is because people these days experience a great deal of stress and worry. Watching funny movies allows them to forget about their concerns temporarily. When they laugh at something amusing or ridiculous on screen, their problems get pushed to the back of their minds.
Do people prefer watching movies at home or at a cinema?
I think many people would rather stay home to watch movies. First, watching them at home saves time and money. Movie theater tickets are quite pricey today. It also takes a while to get to the theater if you don't live nearby. Second, watching movies at home is much more comfortable. At home, you can lie down on the sofa, chat with your family, and even pause the movie to run to the bathroom. However, at a cinema, none of these are possible. Unit 5. Part 1.
What kind of music do you like to listen to?
I'm into dance music nowadays. More specifically, I love to listen to trendy songs by girl groups. They usually have fast tempos and upbeat melodies, so they improve my mood greatly.
Do you prefer to listen to live music or recorded music?
I definitely prefer live music. Listening to recorded songs cannot compare to watching artists actually perform on stage. However, concert tickets are expensive, so most of the songs I listen to are recorded.
Do you like to take pictures? Why?
I do like to take pictures. In my opinion, photos are the only real souvenirs. For example, if I go to a restaurant and the dishes look fabulous, I need to take pictures of them. There's no other way to remember them or show them to friends.
What do you do with the pictures that you take?
Most of the time, I share them with my friends and family. Whenever I take pictures, I take multiple shots. After that, I choose the ones I like the most. Then I upload them on various social networking websites.
Do you think you should learn skills related to photography?
For now, studying photography isn't really that important to me. I only use my cell phone to take photos, so there might not be a lot to learn. Besides, my photography skills aren't that bad for the kind of pictures I usually take.
Do you like to go to art galleries?
Yes, I visit art galleries whenever I can. There is a municipal art gallery not far from where I live, so I usually go there to see paintings by local artists. Also, I sometimes go to the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art when there is a special exhibition.
Do you like to draw?
Even though I had no formal training, I do like to sketch in my notebooks and personal diaries. Also, I sometimes doodle when I'm bored. Most often, they are caricatures of my friends or random objects around me.
Did you take art classes when you were young?
Yes, I was taught how to draw in art classes at school. I remember drawing a perfect apple while observing a real apple. My art teacher taught me how to highlight and shade the objects I drew.
Part 2. The song that has left the biggest impression on me is Imagine by John Lennon, one of the co-founders of the Beatles. Imagine was one of Lennon's first solo songs after the band split up. It was also his most popular solo release. I can't really remember when I first heard the song, but it was probably sometime when I was in elementary school. My father is a huge fan of John Lennon, so his music was always playing in our house. I don't listen to this song often since I'm into other types of music like hip-hop these days. However, I play this song at least once a year on my father's birthday because it's his favorite song. There are a couple of reasons why this song is memorable. First, my brother and I sang it together at my father's birthday party. It was not only my first time performing in front of many people, but also my first duet with my brother. Second, the lyrics are meaningful. They describe a world where there is peace. With all the conflicts going on in the world today, it's hard not to think about the song's lyrics from time to time. Part 3.
What kind of music do people like in your country?
There are several types of music that are popular in Korea at the moment. One of them is pop music. I think Koreans like pop music because it's fun to sing along to, especially when you're at a karaoke room with friends. Koreans love to listen to rap music as well. It's gotten extremely popular, especially with young people, as TV talent shows searching for rap stars have become increasingly common.
Are there any differences between the music young people like and the music old people like in your country?
Yes, the music that the elderly listen to in Korea is totally different from the music young people listen to. Many senior citizens listen to trot music. This is a traditional style of music. I guess it's a bit similar to American country music in some ways. Meanwhile, today's youth enjoy rap and hip-hop music. I think it's because Western culture has had a big influence on Korea in the last couple of decades. Part 2.
I've probably seen thousands of pictures in my life. However, my favorite one is a family portrait that was taken at a photo studio last year to celebrate my parents' wedding anniversary. It's a really great picture. In the photo, my parents are sitting on a small bench, and my brother and I are standing behind them. Everyone is dressed up and smiling from ear to ear. Even though it seems like we were just standing and sitting there, it took more than an hour to get this perfect shot. My mom put it in a wooden frame and hung it in our living room. She also had a digital copy and sent it to all of us. I set the picture as the background image on my phone so that I can see it whenever I check my device. I love this picture and look at it almost every single day. That's because it gives me positive energy. Anytime I'm feeling blue, all I have to do is look at it, and my spirits are lifted.
Part 3.
What are the pros and cons of taking pictures with a smartphone?
Well, with regard to the pros, convenience is the most obvious advantage. Smartphones are lightweight and don't need special care, like expensive cameras. Also, thanks to the many photo apps that are now available for mobile devices, it is quick and easy to edit pictures and send them to other people. As for the drawbacks, a major one is that photos taken with smartphones are not as high quality as those taken with regular cameras. The pictures taken with regular cameras are usually much clearer.
Do you think children should learn how to paint?
Yes, I absolutely think that children should learn to paint. For one, it helps build imagination. When children paint, they learn to picture something in their minds and to figure out how to depict that image on paper. This process boosts their imagination. Moreover, painting can allow children to express feelings that they may not be able to express in words. This can help them gain control over their emotions and remain calm.
Unit 6. Part 1.
What kind of factors do you consider when buying a bag?
There are two things I consider when I buy a bag. First, I look for a bag that matches well with my clothes. Second, since I carry many different items, it is handy to have one with many pockets and compartments.
Do you carry different bags depending on the situation?
Yes, I certainly do. I usually like to carry around my gray fabric backpack because it is comfortable and has a lot of room. However, on formal events, such as a friend's wedding, I take a basic black leather bag with me.
When do people wear hats or caps in your country?
In Korea, people generally wear hats and caps when they go hiking or go to the beach. I guess it is to protect their eyes and face from the glaring sunlight. Additionally, because young people here consider caps and beanies fashion items, they like to wear them when they dress to impress.
Do you wear caps for your convenience or for fashion?
I usually wear them for my convenience. If I can't wash my hair and it's a bit greasy, I put on a cap. That way, I can hide my greasy hair. So, caps are pretty useful when I don't have much time to get ready in the morning.
Do you like to wear fashionable shoes or comfortable shoes?
I try to go for both qualities when buying shoes. I like comfortable shoes, but obviously I don't want to wear something ugly. So when I shop for shoes, I visit as many stores as possible to find the right pair for me.
How often do you buy shoes?
On average, I think I buy shoes once every 6 months or so. Because I love to walk around, my shoes tend to wear out pretty quickly. Therefore, I need to get new ones more often than most other people.
What is your favorite color?
My favorite color is black because it goes with everything and it's so chic. Therefore, most of my possessions, including my clothes, are black. Even though my mom always says that I should wear brighter colors, I can't help but buy black clothing.
Do you like shopping?
Of course, who doesn't like it? When I go shopping, I get to discover cool and stylish new products, so it is very exciting for me. Additionally, it's very fun to compare different items and try to get the best deal. I love shopping so much that I can do it all day.
Part 2. I'd like to tell you about my duck-down coat, which is my favorite clothing item. It's a gray coat that is long enough to cover my knees. That means I don't have to worry about wind on my legs. Also, it has 6 pockets, which offers me room for my hands and all the things I need to carry. My mother gave it to me for my birthday last year. At the time, I had been shopping for a new coat, but all the good-looking ones cost an arm and a leg for a student like me. Therefore, I was so grateful when I received this coat. I absolutely love this coat for several reasons. First of all, it is warm enough for me to endure freezing Korean winters. Actually, I didn't used to go out much in winter because I'm very sensitive to cold temperatures. But thanks to this coat, I went outside a lot last winter. Moreover, its design is just my type. I especially like its color, black. I love the color black since it goes with everything. Plus, dirt and stains are less noticeable on it. Part 3.
Why do people dress differently at work than at other times?
The specific reasons differ from person to person, but it seems that it's mostly because people are expected to look professional at work. Therefore, most employees show up at the office in suits or other outfits appropriate for a business setting. On the other hand, when people stay at home or meet their friends, they want to be comfortable. So, they generally wear casual clothing like jeans, t-shirts, and sneakers.
What are the pros and cons of wearing a uniform?
One main advantage is that it is a lot easier and quicker to get dressed in the morning if uniforms are required. When you only have one wardrobe option, you don't need to spend time selecting appropriate clothes for work or school. On the other hand, having to wear a uniform can limit your individuality. Choosing to wear certain clothes is one way of expressing your personality. However, if you have to wear the same outfit as everyone else, you can't do that.
Part 2. I've bought many things, but my favorite purchase of all time is my laptop. It was one of the latest models when I bought it, and it still has cutting-edge features. I bought it last year at a year-end sale at the shopping mall. It was a bit pricey, but I got a great deal on it. I saved nearly 50% off the regular price. I think I've used it every day since I purchased it. In fact, I do all of my assignments, paperwork, and research on it. When I'm not using it for those things, I also use it for entertainment. I usually play games on it. There are a couple of things that I like about my laptop. First, its design really suits my taste. It's so chic that I want to show it to everyone. Moreover, it is speedy. My previous laptop took more than 5 minutes just to boot up. But this one works so fast that I don't get stressed out due to its speed. It's also small and lightweight. It weighs less than a kilogram and easily fits into my backpack.
Part 3.
Tell me about the benefits and drawbacks of online shopping.
The main advantage is that online shopping is convenient. You can make a purchase with a few clicks without having to go anywhere. But as for its disadvantages, you might purchase something that doesn't fit properly, since you can't try anything on. Even worse, it is difficult to get a refund or replacement when you get items that are not your size.
Do people prefer small shops or large shops in your country?
I think individual preferences differ from person to person. However, most people seem to prefer large shops to small ones. For one, bigger stores tend to offer more diverse products than small shops because their large size can accommodate a greater inventory. Plus, I think shoppers receive better service at large stores because there are plenty of employees who have been specially trained to handle customer needs.
Unit 7. Part 1.
Do you like walking?
Yes, I find it relaxing to walk around town. Whenever I'm stressed or have a lot on my mind, I go out for a walk. Since I usually don't exercise much, I think it is good for my health, too.
Do you visit parks often?
I go to the park near my house 2 to 3 times a month. However, when the weather's sunny and clear, I visit it almost every day. When I visit, I usually stroll around the park to enjoy nature.
Have you learned to swim?
Yes, I actually learned to swim recently. I didn't learn how when I was a child since I had a fear of water. But as I grew up, I wanted to overcome my fear and decided to learn. Now I can swim pretty well.
Do you think children should learn to swim?
I think it is vital for children to learn how to swim because it is a skill that could save their lives. Furthermore, swimming is a fun activity for children, as well as a good workout. By swimming, children can have a good time while becoming healthier.
What is the most popular sport in your country?
That would be baseball. There are dozens of baseball stadiums throughout the country, and they are filled with spectators whenever there is a match. Moreover, many Koreans watch Major League Baseball matches on cable TV.
What kind of outdoor activities did you participate in when you were a child?
When I was 5 or 6, I used to play soccer every day with other children from the neighborhood. While playing soccer, the older kids explained the rules to me. Also, some of the kids' fathers sometimes came along and taught us how to play better.
Which do you prefer, indoor or outdoor activities?
I prefer outdoor activities because I'm an active person. Whenever I meet with friends, we usually play badminton or go cycling. I love to do these activities because they allow me to exercise and get some fresh air.
What kind of indoor activities do you enjoy?
I enjoy watching TV when I'm at home. There are a couple of TV shows I like, and watching them really relieves my stress. My other favorite indoor activity is playing computer games. I usually invite my friends to my house so that we can play them together.
Part 2. There are several parks in my city, but my favorite is Han River Park. It is a city park located along the Han River in Seoul. From my house, it only takes about 10 minutes to get there on foot. Since it's so close, I go there at least once a week. I normally don't go until the weekend when my friends or family can join me. However, I sometimes go alone during the week when I want to get some fresh air. At the Han River Park, you can do a variety of things. It has some of the best bike paths, badminton courts, and flower gardens in the city. So, this park is a great choice if you want to play sports or look at colorful flowers. The best part is that all of these activities are open to the public and free of charge. I visit this park quite often because it's the perfect place to relax. In a highly populated city like Seoul, the Han River Park is one of the few places to enjoy peace and quiet. I often go there just to sit on the grass and think without being interrupted by the sounds of the city. Part 3.
What do people usually do at the park?
That depends on the person, but I think people usually use parks as places to relax and spend time with their friends. It's pretty common to see groups of people sitting on the grass and chatting. People visit parks to play sports as well. Whenever I go to the park, I always see people riding bicycles and using the basketball courts.
Do you think parks are important?
Yes, I think that parks are essential for several reasons. First, they provide people with a place to relax. People can unwind and recharge while relaxing in the park. Also, parks are good places to exercise. Most parks have running trails, athletic courts, and exercise equipment. Thankfully, most of those are free for anyone to use. Part 2.
There are several sports that I've learned, but I'd like to talk about swimming, which is my favorite sport these days. Swimming is a total body workout, which means that every muscle of the body is used. So basically, it's one of the best workouts for building up one's physical strength. I started swimming because I always had a fear of water and wanted to overcome that. I also thought it was an essential life skill. Not knowing how to swim could have been deadly if I'd had an accident and somehow ended up in the water. I could have easily drowned. So I gave it a go. To learn how to swim, I signed up for swimming classes. When I first started swimming, I couldn't even float on my own. Thankfully, my swimming coach was very patient with me. Thanks to his help and encouragement, I continued taking lessons every morning for over a year. I've experienced many benefits from swimming. Its greatest advantage is that I'm no longer scared of water. This has given me so much confidence and has made me feel like I can overcome anything. Second, it helps me to keep in shape. I don't have love handles anymore like I used to.
Part 3.
Why do you think extreme sports are popular?
People are attracted to extreme sports for so many reasons. However, I think their biggest draw is that they provide a thrill. Most people do the same boring things day after day. However, extreme sports are exciting and can break up the old routine. In addition, they give people a chance to test themselves. By pushing themselves to their physical limits, they learn that they are capable of much more than they thought.
Do you think students should take PE classes?
Yes, they should because there are many benefits. For one, PE classes can teach valuable cooperation skills. For instance, when students play soccer in PE classes, they learn how to work as a team to score goals. On top of that, PE can improve students' health and fitness considerably. Students today do not exercise enough and spend much of their time doing sedentary activities like playing computer games. Therefore, having to exercise during the school day is highly beneficial for their body.
Unit 8. Part 1.
How did you meet your best friend?
My best friend Soo Young and I met when we were in middle school. She was sitting next to me on the first day. At first, we didn't talk much to each other because we were too shy. However, we got over it quickly after having lunch together and became close friends.
How often do you meet your friends?
There are 3 friends I meet regularly, and we see each other at least once a week. We've been doing this for several years now. Because we're such good friends, these meetings make me really happy.
What do you usually do when you meet your friends?
When a new movie comes out, we go to the theater together. However, when there aren't any, we usually go to a coffee shop and chat. Since we all are avid movie fans, we like to talk about actors and upcoming movies.
Do you prefer having lots of casual acquaintances or having a few close friends?
I'd rather have a few close friends than lots of casual acquaintances. That's because I can turn to my few close friends when I'm in need of help. Besides, it would be difficult for me to call casual acquaintances when I have a big favor to ask.
Do you usually get invited to visit your friend's house, or do you invite your friends to your house?
I'm usually the one who invites them over to my place. I have a dog, and he gets lonely if he is left alone in my apartment. Therefore, I try not to leave home without him whenever possible. Besides, my friends adore him, so they love to come over and play with him.
Who do you think is more important to you, your family or your friends?
I would say that family comes before friends. While my friends are very dear to me, they are simply not as important as the people who raised me. After all, I've known my family since the moment I was born.
What do you usually do when you spend time with your family?
Whenever I visit my family, we go downtown to have dinner together. There is a big Chinese restaurant there, and we have regularly had family dinners there since I was a kid. Even though the food isn't all that great now, we still go because it brings back old memories.
Who do you resemble the most among your family members?
I think I resemble my mother the most. That's because a lot of people tell me that they see my mother's features in me. On the other hand, when I was young, my grandmother used to tell me that I looked just like my father. Part 2.
There are tons of leaders out there, but the one who inspired me the most was Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was the founder and CEO of Apple. Under his watch, the company developed a successful personal computer, the Macintosh, as well as innovative devices like the iPhone and iPad. However, many people do not realize that he was also the CEO of Pixar, the famous animation studio. I first heard of Steve Jobs when the iPhone was introduced. After that, there were tons of articles saying he was one of the most innovative and influential people in the world. This made me curious about him, so I eventually read his biography. It was very inspiring. Steve Jobs was a very motivational leader. He never let a fear of change extinguish his desire for a technological revolution. In addition, he was great at convincing others to support his vision for new technology. He even won over people who didn't initially like his ideas. His attitude inspired me to have faith in myself and persist with my ideas.
Part 3. What are the qualities of a good leader?
There are several key qualities that all leaders should possess. First of all, good communication skills are vital. When you're in charge of other people, you must be able to provide them with clear instructions. And to do this successfully, the ability to communicate well is a must. Moreover, good leaders should be passionate about what they do. A leader's passion motivates other people as well. This makes them work harder to accomplish the objectives of their team.
What should schools do to help children improve their leadership skills?
I think schools should encourage students to participate in group activities. This would teach students how to cooperate and communicate. After all, these are very important skills for future leaders. Further assigning homework could also help students develop their leadership skills. When children get homework, they have to finish it by the assigned date. By doing so, they develop a sense of responsibility and the ability to manage their time. Both of them are important leadership skills.
Part 2.
Of all my friends, I think the most interesting is a girl named Mina. She always stands out in a crowd. She is not only extremely beautiful, but also very tall, around 180 centimeters. She always attracts attention, especially when she's with her twin sister. They look so much alike that no one can tell the difference between them. I first met Mina in college. We were both at the orientation session and realized that we had the same major. We ended up taking a lot of classes together over the years and became best friends. We still spend a lot of time together. We meet a couple times a week to go shopping, check out art exhibits, or just hang out. Sometimes we even take international trips. For instance, we went to Taiwan together last summer. As I mentioned, Mina is the best friend I've ever had. She always makes me feel happy and comfortable. Her kind heart makes me feel that she'll always be there if I need her. On top of that, she always makes me laugh. She has such a great sense of humor that I can't stop laughing when I'm with her.
Part 3.
Is friendship important?
I absolutely think that friendship is vital. For one, friends provide emotional support. We all go through difficult times in our lives, and having a friend to lean on provides a lot of comfort during these times. Moreover, friendship can boost self-esteem. We sometimes suffer from a lack of confidence and see ourselves in a negative light. When this happens, it's nice to have friends to remind you of what a great person you are.
Do you think people can become friends with their colleagues?
That really depends on the work environment and the kinds of coworkers you have. In certain circumstances, it is possible to develop a friendship with someone from work. This is because they are familiar with what you do and can understand the problems and challenges you might be experiencing. Therefore, they might be able to give you really helpful advice, which can lead to friendships.
Unit 9. Part 1.
What kind of snack do you like?
I'm practically in love with potato chips. They are so tasty that I could eat them all day, every day. Although they come in many different flavors nowadays, my favorite has always been original.
Do you eat different snacks depending on the time of the day?
Sure. I usually like to eat nuts or fresh fruits such as strawberries, bananas, or kiwis in the morning. However, when I get hungry in the afternoon, around 3 or 4, I usually grab a bag of chips or a candy bar.
Do you enjoy eating chocolate?
Yes, I have a sweet tooth and I love to eat chocolates. Whenever I start eating them, I usually can't stop until they're gone. Eating chocolate improves my mood. Since all my friends are well aware of this, they always get me some for my birthday.
Do you like cooking?
I really do. There is a blog with many recipes that I like to visit, and it's great fun to try them out. While many Korean traditional dishes are too difficult for me at this point, I love to cook simple food, such as spaghetti or beef curry.
Who does the cooking at your home?
Most often, my mother is the one who cooks for the family. She usually makes steamed rice and soup and serves the main meal with various side dishes. I sometimes fix my own meal when she's not around. However, even when I follow her recipes and use the exact same ingredients as she does, my food never tastes as good as hers.
When you were a child, did you help your parents to prepare meals?
Yes, I sometimes did, especially during big holidays like New Year's and Thanksgiving. In my country, it is customary to cook a lot of food for these holidays, so I used to help my parents prepare dinner. Even though my parents didn't let me use the stove or knives, they allowed me to wash vegetables and roll dumplings.
Do you think children should help their parents prepare meals?
Of course. In fact, I think it is a great way to educate children. For starters, children can learn to be responsible by being given a daily cooking assignment to complete. Moreover, cooking is a very useful life skill, and it is good to start learning it early on.
What kind of food is popular in your country?
Fried chicken certainly is. It is a very popular food to have delivered to your home, and it's even sold at sports stadiums during matches. I once heard that there are more fried chicken joints in Korea than there are McDonald's restaurants in the entire world.
Part 2.
I do several things to ensure that I remain healthy. However, I think the most important of them is eating well. I totally agree with the old saying, "You are what you eat," so I avoid putting processed foods into my body. This means that I don't consume oily fried foods or sugary drinks and snacks. Instead, I drink a lot of organic smoothies and eat balanced meals consisting primarily of whole grains and green vegetables. Moreover, I never forget to take my 3 daily vitamin supplements. I initially started this diet because my immune system was weak and I weighed a lot more than I do now. It seemed like I was always catching colds, so I decided to do something about it. I did some research on healthier diets and made up my mind to try one myself. It's been about a year now, and I've never felt better. I've seen a lot of benefits from my new diet. Not only have I lost weight, but I also haven't had a cold since starting it. I've also reduced my expenses. I used to spend too much money on snacks and fast food, but now I save it instead.
Part 3. What do people usually do to stay healthy in your country?
There are a number of things that people do to ensure their well-being in Korea. First, they follow a healthy diet. For example, they stay away from fast food as much as possible because it is usually high in fat and carbohydrates. Instead, their meals mostly consist of vegetables, whole grains, and fruit. They also exercise on a regular basis. Some people go to the gym, join exercise classes, and hike.
Do you think schools should teach children about health?
Yes, I think schools should offer health classes to students. A basic knowledge of food and what we should eat to stay healthy is a life skill that everyone should have. In fact, I think the earlier people learn these things, the better. Teaching children about food and health can also bring down the obesity rate, which is a serious health problem these days.
Part 2. Recently, I tried a taco for the first time in my life. I had it last month when my friends and I visited a famous restaurant in Itaewon, a neighborhood where people from all over the world go to spend time. When we met up, one of my friends suggested going to his favorite Mexican restaurant. Not knowing what to order, I asked him and he told me I should have a taco. I fell in love with tacos immediately. Although the taco I ordered was quite spicy, I couldn't get enough of the unique flavors from the sauces and spices. The beef was moist and tender, and the melted cheese and fresh vegetables on top complemented it perfectly. The combination was out of this world. Since I had never tried Mexican food before, I was not expecting much, but everything about that taco blew my mind. I'm so glad I tried it. I think it's my favorite foreign dish now. Just thinking about it makes my mouth water. Part 3.
Do you think the responsibility for teaching children healthy eating habits lies with parents or with teachers?
Both parents and teachers have a major influence on children. However, when it comes to teaching them how to eat healthily, parents should be responsible. This is because children mostly have meals with their parents, not their teachers. Therefore, parents have more opportunities to keep an eye on their children's eating habits and correct any unhealthy ones.
Who tries new and exotic food more often, the elderly or the young?
I'd say that young people are more likely to give new foods a try. This is because young people are generally more adventurous and willing to venture outside their comfort zone. They might view eating something new as fun. In contrast, elderly people are not that curious or daring. They are used to eating certain foods and are satisfied with them. Unit 10. Part 1.
Which do you use more often, buses or taxis?
I use buses more often than taxis. Where I live, buses can go anywhere that taxis can, and they are cheaper, so it makes more sense to take buses rather than taxis. That said, I do use taxis when I need to get somewhere as fast as possible. However, these cases are quite rare.
Which do you prefer, public transportation or private cars?
I prefer using public transportation to driving. Buying and maintaining a car costs a lot more than paying for buses and subways. Furthermore, I don't have to concentrate on the road when I take public transport, so it's more comfortable for me.
What is your favorite type of transportation?
I enjoy taking trains the most because they are very fast and never get stuck in traffic jams. Also, train accidents rarely happen, so they are safer than cars or buses. On top of these, unlike other land vehicles, trains have onboard restroom facilities, so they're more convenient as well.
Do you think many people ride bikes in your country?
I don't think a lot of people ride bikes in Korea. I almost never see anyone riding them except in parks and city squares. Besides, I think the roads in my country are generally too dangerous for people to travel by bicycle.
Did you learn how to ride a bike when you were a child?
Yes, my father gave me a small bike for my 8th birthday and taught me how to ride it. At first, I had a hard time keeping my balance, so my father had to attach training wheels to my bike. However, after a lot of practice, I finally learned to ride it without them.
Do you think children should learn how to ride a bike?
I'm sure that learning to do it is a good thing for children. Since riding a bicycle is usually challenging for children, mastering it can boost their confidence. Plus, by practicing riding, children can develop a sense of balance as well.
Is it safe to ride a bike in your city?
I think riding bicycles in my city is dangerous. Although some parts of the city have bike lanes and paths, most do not. Without those, cyclists are dangerously unprotected. On top of that, some motorists drive recklessly, which can be deadly to those on bicycles.
Have you ever taken a long-distance trip by bus or train?
Earlier this year, I visited my family in Busan for the holidays, and I took a bus to get there. Since the route went through the countryside, I got to see a lot of beautiful scenery. The bus was very comfortable, but we got stuck in a traffic jam for more than 8 hours. Consequently, I was really exhausted by the time I arrived.
Part 2. Out of all the countries in the world, the one I want to visit most is France. It's in Western Europe, which is unfortunately quite far from Korea. In fact, the flight from Incheon to Paris takes at least 12 hours. I've always been intrigued by France because of its historical buildings and monuments. Most of the structures here in Korea are quite modern. Aside from that, I'm fascinated by French cuisine. French chefs make some of the world's best dishes, and I want to taste them. All of these things about France really make me want to visit. There are tons of things I want to do in France, but if I get a chance to go there, my first stop would definitely be the Eiffel Tower. I've seen its sparkling lights so many times in movies, but I want to see them for myself. After that, I'd love to stop by the Louvre Museum to check out the Mona Lisa, and then I'd spend some time at a real French bistro. I'd like to try some wine and dessert since both are supposed to be amazing there. Lastly, I want to meet new people there. France attracts many tourists from all around the world, so I might be able to meet all sorts of interesting people. Part 3.
What are the benefits of traveling abroad?
There are multiple advantages to traveling abroad. First, international travel provides an opportunity to broaden your horizons. You not only get to learn about foreign cultures, but you also get to meet people from around the world. Furthermore, it is an opportunity to immerse yourself in a language and improve your skills in it. Since the people around you will be speaking a different language, you'll have no choice but to speak it.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of a long journey?
The positive part about long journeys is that they give you the chance to experience a place more thoroughly, which means you get to see and learn more things. On the other hand, you might only get a glimpse of the place if you're only there for a short time. One of the downsides is that you can sometimes get really lonely. If you're away from your friends and family for a long time, you might start to miss them. You could end up feeling isolated and homesick. Part 2.
There are several journeys that I make on a regular basis, but my trip to work is the first one that comes to mind. I go to my office every weekday, but I sometimes go there on weekends as well if I have work to do. My workplace is in Pangyo, which is an area packed with IT companies. It's kind of like the Korean Silicon Valley. To get to work every morning, I roll myself out of bed when my alarm starts buzzing at 6 a.m. Since I have to be in the office at 8 a.m. sharp, I need to start getting ready this early. When I'm ready, I take the subway to work. The nearest station is about a 10-minute walk from my house, and the entire trip takes an hour. Speaking frankly, I have to say that it's not my favorite trip. That's because I have to stand the whole time as there are no empty seats during rush hour. Due to this exhausting commute, I'm sometimes worn out when I finally arrive at work. But these days, I try to make the time I spend traveling to work more enjoyable by listening to educational podcasts or watching videos in English.
Part 3.
Do people like air travel?
It depends on the individual's preferences, but I think most people enjoy traveling by plane. That's because it's the fastest way to get anywhere. For example, traveling from Korea to Japan takes an entire day by ship, but it's less than 2 hours by plane. In addition, airlines offer great services. Flight attendants take care of all their passengers' needs. Plus, many airlines now offer in-flight entertainment systems with movies, TV shows, and video games.
Why do people want to have their own cars?
I think people purchase cars to save time. If you own a car, you don't have to wait for a bus or the subway, and you don't have to sit through multiple unnecessary stops. Plus, it is far more comfortable to drive your own car. To be specific, when you drive, you don't have to endure crowded buses and subway cars in which you're squashed between strangers.
Unit 11. Part 1.
What is your favorite season?
Of the 4 seasons in my country, I like autumn the best. The weather is neither too hot nor too cold at that time. Likewise, the amount of sunlight is just right, so there are many beautiful sunny days in fall.
Do you like rainy days? Why?
Not at all. I hate it when my shoes and clothes get wet. Also, if there are strong winds, I get soaked whether I carry an umbrella or not. As a result, walking outside is absolutely horrible on such days.
Do you like sunny days? Why?
Certainly. Sunny days are my favorite kinds of days. I like the feeling of warm sunlight on my skin, and the sky is beautiful to behold when it is clear and blue. In addition, I tend to feel more energetic on days like these, so I'm more productive.
Is there a good place to go in your neighborhood on sunny days?
Yes, there is a small park in my neighborhood that I like to go to when it's sunny. It has a couple of benches, so I can sit down and read books on one of them while enjoying the weather. Furthermore, there are several big trees with many branches, so I can take a seat in the shade if the sunlight becomes too intense.
Does the weather ever affect what you do?
No, not very much. On weekdays, I spend most of my time inside, so the weather doesn't affect me. However, when it rains, I like to drink twice as much coffee as I usually do to keep myself awake.
Have you ever taken care of flowers or any other type of plant?
Sure I have. Someone gave my parents a potted plant several years ago, and I was charged with watering it. In the beginning, I made frequent mistakes because I was not sure how much water I should give it or how often. However, I became better at it over time, and the plant thrived.
Have you given flowers as a gift?
Of course. The last person I gave flowers to was my mother. I bought her a bouquet of roses for her birthday. Although she said that I didn't have to get them for her, I could see that they made her really happy.
Have you raised a pet?
I got a puppy when I was 10. He was a small poodle that used to follow me everywhere I went. I was in charge of feeding him, and since I loved to do it, he became a bit overweight.
Part 2. The most interesting wild animal to me is the polar bear. Polar bears are quite large, weighing up to 700 kilograms, and they are all white aside from their black noses. This allows them to blend in with the snowy landscapes they inhabit. It also makes them look like giant white teddy bears. I first saw a polar bear in a Coke commercial as a kid. Even though it was an animated bear, it was the first time I learned they existed. Later, when I was in middle school, my class visited the zoo and I got to see polar bears with my own eyes for the first time. It was really awesome seeing them swimming and catching fish. However, I was taken aback when I saw how large they really are. I think these white bears are indeed interesting for a couple of reasons. Although they seem really cute like cartoon characters, they're one of the most powerful predators in the world. Plus, despite their massive size, they can run faster than deer and swim faster than seals.
Part 3.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of having pets?
The best thing about having a pet is that it is good for your mental health. When you have a pet, you never feel lonely because they always show their affection. On the downside, pets require a lot of maintenance. You need to have a great deal of time and energy to take care of them. Feeding them, playing with them, and keeping them clean are not always easy jobs.
What kind of pet is most common in your country?
There are many different kinds of pets in Korea, but dogs are the most common. People here enjoy having dogs because they are loyal. Dogs always wait at the door for their owners to come home. Plus, they put people in a good mood. For example, when you come home after a long day, your dog comes running to you and wants to play. This makes it hard to stay angry or sad and makes you feel better.
Part 2.
I'd like to tell you about a trip last year which didn't go as I expected. My family and I had planned a trip to Jeonju, a city famous in Korea for its historic buildings and traditional foods. We'd spent weeks planning the trip and had already reserved our hotel, dinner, and some tours of the old buildings, so everyone was really excited. Unfortunately, on the day we were supposed to leave, it was raining cats and dogs. The rain was so heavy that we couldn't see in front of our car. Therefore, we had no choice but to cancel the trip. We couldn't risk driving under those conditions. Instead, we just stayed home and watched a movie. I was really disappointed. I was looking forward to the trip, and I had put in so much work planning it. To make matters worse, we still had to pay for the hotel and some of the attraction tickets since we canceled at the last minute. I think I'll keep an eye on the weather forecast next time I plan a trip.
Part 3.
Do people often have conversations about the weather? Why?
Yes, people often talk about the weather. First, talking about the weather keeps things light and simple. There are some subjects that could start an argument, like politics, but making a remark about the weather never causes any problems. Besides, it's a good way to start a conversation with anyone. Sometimes we don't know exactly what to say, but feel like it is necessary to say something. In these cases, the weather is the perfect topic.
What do people do in each type of weather?
People do several different things according to the weather. On warm and sunny days, people like to spend their time outside. They have picnics or take strolls in parks. I guess that's because people generally like to bathe in the sun. On the other hand, people tend to stay indoors when it's rainy and gloomy. They sometimes watch television or read books.
Unit 12. Part 1.
Do you think birthdays are important?
I think they are significant. Birthdays give me a chance to express how much I love and appreciate my friends and family members. Plus, I think birthdays are great occasions for people to get together. For example, my friends and I are normally too busy to see one another, but we make time to have dinner whenever it's someone's birthday.
Who do you usually spend your birthday with, friends or family?
Well, I spend time with both. During the day, my friends normally take me to a fancy restaurant for a meal, then to a cafe or a bowling alley, depending on my mood. After that, I usually go home to spend the evening with my parents.
How do children in your country spend their birthdays?
According to my sister, who has an 8-year-old kid, Korean children usually invite friends to their house to have a birthday party. At the party, the children eat their favorite foods and receive gifts from their family and friends. They also make a wish and blow out the candles on their birthday cake.
Do you like to give gifts?
Sure, I love to give little things to people around me, even when there's nothing to celebrate. The things I like to give are small practical items, such as pens and free drink coupons. I give these to show people that I appreciate and care about them. Plus, I feel good when they thank me for the gifts.
When do people give and receive gifts in your country?
Besides birthdays and anniversaries, Koreans usually exchange gifts at Christmas, even though many of them are not Christians. Additionally, it is customary to send out cards and gifts at the end of each year. This is to express thanks to people who have helped us out during the previous 12 months.
What are the biggest holidays in your country?
The two major holidays in Korea are the Lunar New Year and Korean Thanksgiving celebrations. As their names suggest, the New Year's celebrations are tied to the beginning of the new year, while the Thanksgiving holiday celebrates the autumn harvest. Both holidays follow the lunar calendar, so their actual dates change from year to year.
Do you think the number of national holidays should be increased?
Yes, I think there should be more national holidays. Compared to workers in other countries, the average Korean works a lot of hours, so they deserve more days off. In addition, people usually spend quite a bit of money during the holidays. Therefore, having more of them could boost the economy as well.
What is your favorite holiday?
Among the holidays, I like Christmas the most. I love to give and receive gifts, and Christmas is a good time to do that. Moreover, my mother usually prepares lavish dinners for the holiday. Since she's a great cook, the meal is guaranteed to be good.
Part 2.
I've attended several weddings in my life, but the most memorable one was my sister's. My sister and I have been inseparable for our entire lives, so it was a huge deal to me that she was getting married. Her wedding was very emotional. My father wept while he walked my sister down the aisle. I also cried like a baby when my sister and her husband exchanged vows. I think it was the first time I realized that she was really getting married. Luckily, I pulled myself together before it was time for me to sing. I sang a song called Proposal, which is about happiness and trust in marriage. I had mixed feelings about the wedding. I was happy that she found someone to grow old with, but I was a bit sad that we wouldn't be seeing each other as often as before because she would be moving in with her husband. Anyway, the wedding was impressive to me, not only because it was very beautiful, but also because I experienced lots of firsts. It was the first time someone close to me got married, and it was the first time I ever saw my father cry.
Part 3.
What do people usually give newlywed couples as a wedding gift?
I think practical gifts are given most frequently. This is because newlyweds traditionally move in together after their wedding, and they need many things to furnish their new home. It can be a burden for a young couple to buy everything all at once, so presents like household appliances and dinnerware are very useful and can make the transition to married life easier.
Do you think there's a right age to get married?
I know that people have different opinions about this, but I think that there is an ideal time for marriage. Specifically, I think people should be in their late 20s or early 30s. By that age, most people are finished with university and have been working for a few years. This makes them more likely to be financially stable with some savings. This financial stability makes it easier for a couple to raise a family.
Part 2.
I'd like to tell you about my trip to Jeju Island, which was my favorite vacation ever. I went there with my cousin because he knows almost everything there is to know about Jeju Island. He has visited more than a dozen times, so he acted as my guide. We got to do a lot of fun things while we were there. We visited some beautiful beaches and took a lot of pictures of the beautiful scenery. We even got to go horseback riding along one of the beaches. However, our favorite activity was eating. We had some mind-blowing sashimi. It was pricey because Jeju is a tourist hotspot, but it was worth it. I loved the trip for several reasons. First, this trip was the perfect opportunity to get away and relax. Before we went, I'd been swamped with work due to a new project. Although the trip wasn't that long, I was able to recharge enough. Also, it was the first time I truly enjoyed nature. Since I was raised in a large city, I was more familiar with skyscrapers than trees and fields. However, on Jeju Island, I was surrounded by nature no matter where I went.
Part 3. Do people prefer to spend their vacations alone or with their families?
Well, individual preferences differ from person to person, but I think most people prefer to be in the company of their families. That's because when you travel with your family, you get the chance to make wonderful memories and share the joy of new experiences with those you love. Furthermore, you never know when there might be an emergency. If something bad happens, it is much better to be with people who care about you than to be by yourself.
What do people do to prepare before going on a holiday?
To begin with, people look up information on the area that they'll be visiting. Through their research, they can find out what the weather will be like when they visit and whether they should get vaccinations or visas. If they don't check this beforehand, they might encounter a number of obstacles. Plus, people make travel arrangements before going away. For instance, booking a hotel and renting a car are commonly done in advance.
Unit 13. Part 1.
How do you feel when you are late?
I get really frustrated when I'm late. I also feel sorry for anyone who is waiting for me. So I always try to be on time or to arrive a little earlier than planned.
Do people in your country think that being on time is important?
I think they do. In my experience, Koreans are generally well aware that they're wasting other people's time by being tardy. While not everyone in the country is so time conscious, I think most people are.
What do you usually do in the evening?
I usually have dinner with friends or study in the evening. Additionally, I try to hit the gym at least 3 times a week. However, when I feel too tired to do anything at the end of the day, I just head home and watch TV.
Are evenings on the weekends different from those on the weekdays?
Yes, to me, the evenings on the weekends are not the same as the ones during the week. On weekdays, I try to engage myself in productive activities, such as studying or exercising in the evenings. However, when the weekend comes, I prefer to enjoy myself a bit by meeting friends or going to movies and concerts.
What is your favorite weekday?
It's Friday, of course. That's the last weekday, so I have the whole weekend to look forward to. Furthermore, I can stay up as late as I like on Friday nights, since I can sleep in on Saturday mornings.
What are your plans for this weekend? What about next weekend?
I have a friend's wedding to attend this Saturday and a lunch appointment with my grandparents on Sunday. Also, one of my best friends wants to check out a new movie with me, so I'm pretty much booked solid this weekend. However, I have nothing planned for next weekend yet.
Do you like housework?
Honestly, I don't like it much. Even though I fully understand that doing household chores is necessary, even important, I do not find them interesting at all. As a result, I usually put off doing housework until the last minute.
What can we do to make household chores less boring?
In my experience, they become less boring when you try to do them faster. For example, when I'm folding clothes, I try out different methods to find the most efficient way to do it. If I'm successful, I can spend less time on it the next time. Even if I'm not, at least the task was made more interesting because I had something to think about while doing it.
Part 2.
Well, of course, there have been several times when people have made me wait, but I'd like to talk about the time when I had to wait for my friend a few months ago. I was supposed to meet my friend at noon to have lunch and go to a musical. I arrived on time, but my friend was not there. I waited outside the subway station where we were supposed to meet. After waiting for a while, I got cold, so I went into a nearby cafe and did some web surfing on my phone to relieve the boredom. Eventually, my friend called to say that he had overslept because he drank too much the previous night. He said he was going to jump into a taxi and be there shortly. Unfortunately, he got stuck in the weekend traffic and was nearly 2 hours late. I was furious by that point. I thought he had been very rude and selfish by being so late. Luckily, he showed up right before the musical started and begged for my forgiveness. After the show was over, he treated me to dinner at my favorite restaurant. That made me forgive his lateness.
Part 3.
Why do people not like waiting?
People don't like waiting because it's boring. When we wait for someone, we can't do anything but watch the clock ticking, and this bores people to death. Not only that, but waiting is also a waste of time. If we are forced to wait, we lose the opportunity to do other things. That means we are wasting time that we could have used more productively if we weren't stuck waiting.
In what situations do people wait?
There are various situations in which people have to wait. First of all, in places like banks and post offices, there are often people waiting for service. Therefore, people have to stand in line and wait. Aside from that, people sometimes wait to have a meal at well-known restaurants. It seems that many Koreans are gourmets, so they don't mind waiting to try delicious food.
Part 2.
Well, actually, my mom woke me up early a few months ago. It was on January 1st, New Year's Day. I usually wake up around 8 for school, but my mother shook me awake at 5 o'clock that day. She did so because she and my father had decided to bring the family to the East Sea so we could watch the first sunrise of the new year together. At first, when I awoke, I was in a grumpy mood. To be honest, I didn't agree with the plan in the beginning, and I just wanted to sleep more. I didn't see why we had to get up that early to watch the sun rising. However, after we arrived at the East Sea and saw the sunrise, I felt it was worth it. While watching the sun, I made a New Year's resolution and a New Year's wish. It was a memorable and meaningful experience for me. Therefore, I'd like to do the same thing every New Year's Day.
Part 3.
What are some reasons for people to wake up early in your country?
The specific reasons differ from person to person, but I think the most common one is for school and work. Since most schools and businesses open in the morning, students and workers have to wake up early for their classes or jobs. In addition, many people get up early to do exercise. Physical activity improves overall health and gets the body ready for the day. Therefore, many people wake up early to do yoga or to go jogging.
In what situations is it bad to arrive early?
Well, I think showing up too early for a job interview is not good. Although one shouldn't be late, arriving too early can disrupt the schedules of the people in the office. Showing up early at an event where you don't know anyone is even worse. If you're alone at a wedding or seminar and there's no one to talk to, you will feel awkward and lonely.
Unit 14. Part 1.
Do you prefer to work or study alone or in a group?
Studying alone is better than working in a group. I find that concentrating is much easier when there is no one around to distract me. In addition, when I'm studying with other people, I sometimes have to go back over lessons I have already covered. Therefore, it is less efficient for me.
Do you think group work is important?
Yes, I think group activities are very important. Since most people belong to organizations such as schools or companies, they often have to work with others. Therefore, knowing how to cooperate and interact with a variety of people can sometimes be the key to success.
When do you usually work in a group?
I most often work with other people when I have a presentation assignment for my management class. I usually have a couple of such projects per semester. Because they generally require a lot of work and research, 4 or 5 students are expected to work on them together.
Have you helped a stranger? Why?
Yes, I helped a lady who was struggling with a stroller on some stairs last month. She looked really tired and, at the same time, worried about her baby in the carriage. I went over to her and helped her move it because I thought it was the right thing to do.
What do you think about helping people?
Personally, I think that helping others is great. However, I also think that we need to be cautious because there are always people who try to abuse others' goodwill. We should be careful not to fall victim to such bad people's schemes and traps when doing good.
Do you like to share things?
I don't exactly like sharing, but I don't mind it when it is necessary. For instance, I'm reluctant to share food in general because I want to enjoy it myself. However, I'm fine with giving up my food if someone is really hungry.
What do you think about sharing accommodations?
I try to avoid it if possible. Even though having a roommate makes the rent cheaper, it is really inconvenient for me. Furthermore, I often invite friends to my place, which would probably bother anyone who lived with me.
Do you think sharing is important?
Sharing is very crucial in our lives. That's because it shows that you care about other people. By expressing that you care for others, you can build up and strengthen your relationships with them.
Part 2.
I've been involved in several group projects, but one project I did in my junior year comes to mind first. This project was an assignment for the acting class I took as an elective. Everyone in this class was required to produce a play and perform in it. My team performed Romeo and Juliet, and I played the lead role, Juliet. Of course, I got to work on the project with other students in the class. However, since the teacher randomly put all of the students into groups, I didn't know anyone on my team. Honestly, I was initially unhappy with the group. I wanted to work with at least one of my friends from class. However, as we practiced, we got acquainted and grew comfortable with one another. By the time of our performance, we were in perfect harmony, and no one made any mistakes. I was proud of what we'd accomplished. This experience taught me that practice makes perfect. We were awful in the beginning, but our hard work made us better. I also learned the importance of teamwork. Performing a play in front of many people seemed like an impossible mission, but thanks to our teamwork, we pulled it off.
Part 3.
What are the disadvantages of working in a group?
I think one of the biggest drawbacks is that ideas often clash when multiple people work together. With so many different opinions, group members must compromise when making decisions. If they cannot do this, conflicts can arise, and the group will not be able to make any progress. Not only that, but when an agreement cannot be reached, people sometimes say things that hurt one another's feelings.
What are the disadvantages of working alone?
There are multiple drawbacks to doing work on your own. To begin with, there is no one to back up decisions. People often like to discuss choices they might be unsure about and ask for advice. However, when you work alone, there is no one to give you this help. Furthermore, those who work on their own can suffer from a lack of ideas. Usually, the more people you work with, the more ideas you generate. But if you work alone, you only have your perspective to rely on.
Part 2.
I'd like to talk about the most memorable mistake I made in college. I was a freshman at that time, and it was the middle of midterm week. I decided to go out with my friends one night during the week. At the time, I didn't realize what a huge mistake this would be. We had a great time clubbing and dancing until 3 a.m., even though we had an exam the next morning. Unfortunately, I didn't roll out of bed until after the exam had started, so I missed it and got an F in the class. I was really angry with myself. I was supposed to be taking care of myself as an adult, but I couldn't even make it to class for an exam. I also felt guilty that I'd wasted the money my parents had paid for that class. After this incident, I learned several things. I learned to prioritize my studies above my social life. No matter what was going on, I never stayed out past midnight on weekdays. Also, if I had an exam the next day, I was asleep by midnight. This had a really positive impact on my academic performance, and I was able to graduate with respectable grades.
Part 3.
What can children learn from making mistakes?
By making mistakes, children learn not to repeat them. For instance, let's say a child is kicking a soccer ball around the house and breaks a vase. The child will likely feel bad and maybe be punished. Because of this, he will know to avoid such behavior in the future. In addition, making mistakes can teach children that no one is perfect and that everyone makes them. This will make them more understanding of other people. For example, they will tolerate the mistakes of others rather than make fun of them.
How should adults react to children's mistakes?
Adults can react to a child's mistake in a lot of different ways, but I'd say that they should identify the problem and guide the child to a solution. Since adults have more life experience, they should be able to do this. Plus, they should embrace mistakes as teachable moments. Instead of scolding or shaming the child, adults should use the opportunity to make sure the child learns a good lesson on what to do or not do in the future.
Unit 15. Part 1.
Who was your favorite teacher when you were a student?
When I was a freshman in high school, the art teacher was my favorite. He was very young and good-looking, as well as knowledgeable. Although he taught us a lot about the history of art, he rarely gave us quizzes or assignments, so everyone loved his class.
Do you still keep in touch with your favorite teacher?
Unfortunately, I can't because I don't have his contact information. When I was a junior in high school, he moved to another school without telling anyone. Many of my classmates were sad about it, and they still talk about him sometimes when we meet up.
Do you like teaching?
Yes, I enjoy teaching because I like to help people develop their skills. For example, I worked as a private tutor last summer. Even though it was challenging at first, I enjoyed doing it because I could see that my student was making progress.
What did you like about your school when you were young?
My primary school had a big schoolyard, and it was one of the best things about the place. The yard was large enough to fit a soccer field as well as a basketball court. Therefore, my friends and I always ran out to the yard at lunchtime to play ball.
What subject was the most difficult for you?
The most difficult subject for me was chemistry. That is because I had to memorize all the element symbols by heart. It was so painfully hard for me. In addition, I had to deal with complex formulas, and they were very confusing to me.
What was your favorite subject?
I liked music above all the others. Even though I wasn't very talented, I enjoyed singing and playing an instrument. Besides, the break from textbooks and note-taking gave me time to rest my brain.
What kind of toys do children play with these days?
I think toy cars are popular with kids these days. I have a nephew who is 4 years old, and he loves toy cars. He has a big collection of them in his room, and he always carries one with him wherever he goes.
What kinds of activities are good for children?
I think it is good for children to go out and play sports. These days, children spend too much time playing games or watching TV. Consequently, they are becoming increasingly overweight. Therefore, doing physical activities such as football or baseball would be good for children's health.
Part 2.
The skill I recently picked up is cycling. I decided to learn it because I was always embarrassed about not knowing how to ride a bike. Also, since all my friends could do it, I felt a bit left out too. When I told them this, they encouraged me to learn. They all said it was great fun and a good source of exercise. I first got on a bike about 5 months ago, and I practiced every weekend for about 2 months. During that time, my friends taught me how to balance myself on the bike, how to steer, and how to avoid accidents. Cycling has affected my life in so many good ways. Most obviously, it saved me time on my commute. I can now get to school in 5 minutes by bike, which is faster than walking for 15 minutes. Furthermore, I can go for rides through the countryside and enjoy the beautiful scenery. But the best part is that I can feel myself becoming more fit and healthier. I'm really glad I applied myself and learned.
Part 3.
What skills are good for children to learn?
There are several important skills that young people should learn. For one, young children should be taught foreign languages. This is because languages are easier to pick up at an early age. When younger children are taught foreign languages, they learn them naturally without much effort. In addition, musical skills are also beneficial for young people. Musical skills can increase creative thinking in children, and that would be beneficial for them overall.
Should male and female students learn different skills?
In my opinion, we should not teach students based on their gender, but instead, students should be able to learn skills based on their personal interests and future goals. For instance, if a male student wants to become a makeup artist, he should not be forced to study woodworking or agriculture. Conversely, if a female student wants to be a professional boxer, it doesn't make sense to require her to study cooking.
Part 2.
There were many toys that I liked, but the first thing that comes to mind is a small stuffed dog. It had white fur and could move and bark on its own because it ran on batteries. My aunt got it for me as a Christmas gift when I was 6, and I was never without it for the next few years. I treated my little dog like a real pet. I would walk it around the house and take it everywhere I'd go. I showed it off to all my friends. I even had conversations with it. I must have looked pretty strange, but I remember asking if it was hungry or needed to go outside. I think I loved that toy because it was a good substitute for a real dog. As a kid, I always wanted to have a dog, but I couldn't get one due to my dad's allergies. In addition, I probably liked it because I was an only child and often felt lonely. Having the little dog gave me someone to play with and talk to, and I thought of it as my best friend.
Part 3.
How are toys today different from toys in the past?
There are many differences between today's toys and those of the past. First of all, many toys now feature advanced technologies. These days, a lot of toys can be controlled with a smartphone. Children take to these naturally and have no problems with them since they have lived with technology like this for their entire lives. Also, there has been an increase in educational toys. Toys are not just for having fun anymore. Some toys are designed to help children learn skills, like foreign languages, while having fun at the same time.
Are there any differences between the toys boys play with and the toys girls play with?
I do think that male and female children play with different toys. The key differences are based on how boys and girls are typically thought to behave. For instance, a lot of people assume that boys are more active than girls and more interested in knowing how things work. That's why boys are often given toy guns, cars, and robots to play with. Meanwhile, there is a stereotype that girls like pretty things. Therefore, it is not surprising that many girls play with princess dolls.
Unit 16. Part 1.
What languages can you speak?
Other than Korean and English, I can't speak any other languages. Even though I learned a bit of German in the past, I can't speak it anymore. I forgot most of the vocabulary I once knew because it's been so long.
When and how did you learn English?
I first learned English when I was a kid in elementary school. Our teacher taught English to us in a very fun way. For example, I learned new vocabulary through singing songs and playing games. English classes became more boring as I grew up, but I really liked learning English when I was young.
What languages, other than English, do you want to learn? Why?
I really want to become fluent in Mandarin Chinese. Knowing how to speak Chinese well can really open doors in today's job market. Since a lot of Korean companies trade with Chinese businesses these days, they often look for applicants who are proficient in the language.
Which do you think is more difficult, speaking English or reading English?
I think speaking English is more difficult than reading English text. The reason for this is that reading only requires knowledge of grammar and vocabulary. On the other hand, to be able to speak, a person needs to know and correctly pronounce the words as well.
Do you think handwriting is important?
Not at all. In my opinion, penmanship is a largely irrelevant skill in today's world. Typing on a computer is much faster and easier for most people. Although it could be useful when writing cards and letters, I don't think it is important for people's everyday lives.
Which one do you prefer, handwriting or typing?
Like most other people, I like typing way more than writing by hand. Since I rarely handwrite anything these days, holding a pen feels a little awkward and uncomfortable. Besides, I type much faster than I write, so typing is more efficient for me.
When do you write things by hand?
I normally write letters and fill out forms at banks and government offices by hand. For me, writing letters is very personal, so typing them doesn't feel right to me. Additionally, I always handwrite messages in the birthday cards I give to my friends and family.
Do you think we will use handwriting in the future as much as we use it now?
I'm pretty certain that handwriting will be used a lot less frequently in the coming years. Even though cards and letters will still be written by hand in the future, most people will prefer typing because it is so much more efficient. Moreover, I suspect that even signatures might be replaced with something else as technology continues to advance.
Part 2.
I first spoke a foreign language when I was in high school. Even though it has been a while, I still remember that day clearly. My friends and I were walking down the street when a foreign man suddenly stopped us. He asked for directions to City Hall in English. I gave him a detailed explanation of how to get there. Then he told us that he was visiting Korea and asked if there was anything he should do. That was a difficult question because I'd never thought about it before. However, after a bit of thinking, I told him to visit Insadong because there are lots of souvenirs and traditional shops there. He thanked us and then headed to his destination. Initially, I was nervous about answering his questions since I wasn't good at English. I thought it would be a struggle to think of the right words, but after I helped him, I felt really proud of myself. Plus, I felt more motivated to study English.
Part 3.
Do you think it's important to learn foreign languages?
I definitely think that learning foreign languages is important in today's world. This is because most business today has an international component. Companies not only buy and sell goods in different countries, but they also have offices in them. As a result, most companies prefer to hire multilingual people who can communicate accordingly. So, to get the job that you want, learning a foreign language could be quite crucial.
When is the best time for children to learn foreign languages?
I know that many people have different opinions about this, but I'd say the ideal time to learn another language is in early childhood, at around 6 years old. This is because younger children tend to learn second languages in the same way they learn their native languages. To be specific, they practice and experiment without worrying about making grammar or pronunciation mistakes. They simply use the language without thinking about it. Therefore, if they learn a foreign language early, they will be able to speak that language like a native speaker without much effort.
Part 2.
A conversation that I enjoyed recently is the one I had with my nephew. He's 7 years old and currently in kindergarten, but he'll be starting primary school in a few months. He's a great kid, but quite a handful sometimes. Last weekend, my sister and her husband were planning to celebrate their wedding anniversary with a short trip, but didn't have anyone to watch him. So, I volunteered to help them out and take care of him while they were away. When I got to their house, he wouldn't stop talking about a girl in his class. He said that he had a crush on her, but didn't know how to talk to her. He asked for my advice, and I told him that girls like brave guys, and that he should just approach her and tell her how he felt. I was really amused by the conversation. I'd never heard about the romantic troubles of a child before, so it was quite cute. Now, I'm just curious what happened, since he hasn't given me an update yet. I hope that he talked to her and that everything went well.
Part 3.
Why do people get nervous before they give a presentation?
I think most people become tense before presentations because they worry what their audience will think. Most people do not address large groups in their everyday lives. They usually have conversations on a one-on-one basis or with a few other individuals. Therefore, speaking in front of a crowd is an unusual experience. Furthermore, most presentations are given to groups of clients, colleagues, or supervisors. This can make them very important for the presenter's career, which leads to increased nervousness.
What are the differences between men and women when it comes to having a conversation?
I know that people have a lot of different opinions about this, but the main conversational difference between the genders seems to be how thoughts and feelings are expressed. On the one hand, men tend to be quite direct and unsentimental. They act as though conversations have an overall purpose and get directly to the point. Women, on the other hand, seem to incorporate more emotions into how they communicate. Their conversations often have more than one purpose and cover a range of ideas and feelings.
Unit 17. Part 1.
Do you like science?
Quite a bit, especially the parts related to astronomy. For example, I love to read and watch programs about space. Whenever I learn a new fact about the universe, I get really excited. I'm so glad that more documentary series about space are being shown on TV these days.
Do you think science is important?
Yes, I think it is important because science improves our lives. For example, we might be able to cure diseases like cancer and AIDS one day because of a scientific breakthrough. Furthermore, science can give us clean energy sources that do not harm the environment.
What do you usually use computers for?
I mostly use computers to do internet searches. However, I occasionally play games or shop online when I have free time as well. Moreover, I sometimes take my laptop to coffee shops and libraries to get some work done.
Do you think the importance of computers will increase in the future?
If portable devices, such as smartphones and tablets, can also be considered computers, then my answer is yes. People increasingly rely on the internet to do things these days, and we will probably depend on it even more in the future. Therefore, any piece of equipment that can access the internet will be more important.
What are the drawbacks of using computers?
I think using computers makes us overly dependent on them. Last month, my computer broke down while I was at home. Since all my files and programs were stored in that computer, I couldn't work or play any games and became really frustrated. That incident made me realize that I depend on my computer too much.
What kind of jobs do you think need computer skills?
I have to say that having at least some knowledge of computers is essential for any job in today's world. Most companies nowadays use computers to do business. Therefore, it's vital that employees know how to use them properly.
Do you use social networking sites?
Yes, I log on to social networking sites from time to time. When I visit these sites, I mostly look at my friends' posts and photos. Some of them like to write reviews of the restaurants they go to, and these posts are very helpful to me.
Do you think many people use social networking sites in your country?
I'm pretty sure that a lot of Koreans use social networking sites these days. In fact, most of my friends use more than one such site. Even my father, who's over 50 years old, signed up for an account recently. He visits the site to get in touch with his friends.
Part 2.
There are so many valuable mobile phone applications out there, but the map application comes to mind first. It, of course, shows basic maps, but it also gives detailed directions. All I have to do is type in my destination, and then it shows me the directions and provides an estimate for how long it will take to get there. If I'm taking a bus or the subway, it will even tell me any transfer information, how long I'll have to wait, and the cost of the trip. I use the app nearly every day and can't live without it. Since it also updates information on traffic conditions, it helps me decide whether to travel by bus, taxi, or the subway. This app is very handy, and it's helped me out a lot. I used to get lost all the time, even on familiar routes. But now, I can just check the app if I don't know where I am. This is especially useful on international trips. I can use the app to find my way regardless of whether I understand the local language or not. It saved me a lot of time and stress.
Part 3.
What are the differences between applications used by old people and young people?
I'd say that there are some differences between the apps that the elderly use and those that the young use. Older people tend to only use basic apps that have been on the market for a while. This is because older people often worry that new apps will be difficult to learn. Therefore, they tend to only use apps for simple tasks, like sending messages and setting alarms. On the other hand, young people are attracted to new apps and learn how to use them quickly. Also, they use these apps for more diverse purposes, like editing photos and tracking their fitness levels.
What are some popular applications in your country?
The most popular application in my country seems to be the messaging app. This is the most basic app, and I've never seen anyone who doesn't use it. It can be used to send text and voice messages, as well as pictures and videos. Another commonly used application is the web browser. With this app, people can search for things and view information. This is actually the app I use most often. I open it every morning to check out the latest news.
Part 2.
I'd like to talk about chemistry, which is the area of science I'm most interested in. It may seem odd, but I first learned about the study of chemistry after having my first Diet Coke. I couldn't figure out how in the world it could taste the same as regular Coke, but be calorie-free. So, I did some research to see how this was possible. It turned out the secret is using artificial sweeteners as a substitute for sugar. Reading about these amazing chemicals made a big impression on me and got me interested in learning more. In my opinion, chemistry has affected our lives in many positive ways. First of all, the invention of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides has greatly improved our agricultural efficiency. This has reduced the threat of famine around the world. Second, since medicines are basically just mixtures of various chemicals, it's safe to say that the study of chemistry has cured many dangerous diseases and extended our lives.
Part 3.
What area of science has influenced our society the most?
There are many areas of scientific study that have greatly affected our society, but I think computer science has brought about the biggest changes. The invention of computers has increased our efficiency significantly. Computers have not only made it possible to perform calculations faster, but they have also made maintaining and analyzing databases easier. What's more, the Internet has connected people from all over the world and enabled rapid information exchanges. For example, social networking sites give people the opportunity to instantly share anything with anyone.
Are there any negative effects due to the development of science?
Yes, I'd have to say that scientific development can have an unfavorable impact on society. To begin with, scientific invention can be detrimental to the environment. For instance, science has facilitated the production of harmful chemicals that create a lot of pollution. In addition, science threatens human life. One example of this is nuclear weapons. These scientifically designed weapons threaten international peace and can lead to the deaths of innocent people.
Unit 18. Part 1.
Do you like to read newspapers or magazines?
Yes, I enjoy reading newspapers. I think it is a good habit because it allows me to keep up with current events. I usually read the economy, politics, and entertainment sections before I get to the others.
What was the first newspaper or magazine that you bought?
The first magazine I ever bought was a movie magazine. I was about 13 years old at the time, and the magazine featured my favorite actor on the cover. Since I was a big fan, I enjoyed reading his interview in the magazine.
Do you think newspapers in the print format will still exist in 20 years?
I think they'll have been discontinued by that time. Nowadays, people can read the news freely on various websites, so there is very little incentive to pay for printed newspapers. As a result, fewer people are buying them these days. If this trend continues, the newspaper companies will stop publishing their news in the paper format.
Do you like to see advertisements?
I'm mostly annoyed by advertisements. When there are commercials on TV, I generally change the channel or walk away to do something else. Even though some are genuinely funny, they become repetitive and boring after seeing them more than once.
Are there any commercials that made you want to buy something?
There was a TV commercial advertising corn silk tea that made me purchase it. A beautiful actress appeared in the ad, and a narrator said people can get fit by drinking this special tea. As a result, I ended up buying more than 10 bottles of it, but nothing happened to my body, unfortunately.
How often do you watch TV?
I watch TV every single day. I love to watch TV because there are so many interesting shows on these days. For example, I usually watch comedy programs that make me laugh.
What is your favorite TV program?
My favorite TV program of all time is K-Pop Star. It's a talent show that searches for undiscovered singers, which is quite similar to American Idol. I love this program because I can see so many excellent young singers and enjoy their talents.
How have TV programs changed in recent years?
I think there are a lot more reality TV shows now than in the past. For example, these days there are many talent shows and singing competition shows, which did not exist 10 or 15 years ago. Also, unlike in the past, food and cookery shows that feature celebrities are very much in vogue now.
Part 2.
I've seen lots of celebrities on news programs, but the first one that comes to mind is Psy. Psy is a Korean singer and comedic performer. He is most famous for the song Gangnam Style, which took the world by storm a few years ago. Despite its lyrics being in Korean, it became famous internationally, and people around the world imitated the iconic horse riding dance featured in it. Psy was on the news program I saw just after Gangnam Style was released. He'd been invited on to discuss the phenomenal success of the song. It had just been named YouTube's most viewed video ever, and the song was being played in dance clubs around the world. It even reached number 2 on the American Billboard music chart. I was really proud when I saw Psy on television because he was breaking new ground with his song. No Korean artist had ever been so successful abroad. I was also impressed by his humble attitude. Even though he had become an international superstar, he didn't seem arrogant at all. He just said he was lucky and glad to share his music with lots of people.
Part 3.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of being a well-known person?
One major benefit of being famous is that it can be highly profitable, financially and otherwise. For example, celebrities are often given the opportunity to endorse or lend their names to new products. This can earn them huge sums of money. They also generally receive special treatment and maintain VIP status. On the other hand, fame can also have downsides, such as the loss of privacy. For instance, celebrities and politicians are often stalked by paparazzi and appear in the media because of things they've done or said in private.
How do celebrities affect the younger generation?
Celebrities can influence young people in so many ways. On the positive side, celebrities create art and culture that youth can enjoy. For example, music, fashion, and movies are things that many young people are passionate about. By creating these things, celebrities bring joy to the younger generation. However, celebrities can also negatively impact youth. Young people often follow celebrity culture closely and pick up habits and ideas from them. Even if a celebrity says or does something inappropriate, young people may imitate them and get into trouble.
Part 2.
Well, I saw a news story on TV a few months ago. It was about an old lady who did a good deed. She sold vegetables all day at a local market to earn a living. Everyone assumed that she was really poor because she seemed to be living in poverty. However, what people did not know was that she was saving almost all of her income. After she passed away, everyone was shocked to learn that she had saved over $100,000. It turns out that she'd left it all to a charity that helps low-income citizens like herself. Her heartwarming story gave me more faith in humanity. Previously, I sometimes thought the world was a cold, merciless place. However, after seeing the story, I realized that there were many loving people out there, and that they aren't always where you'd expect to find them. Her selfless giving also made me realize that I should do something too. It encouraged me to make a donation to the same charity group. In fact, I now donate a little money to it every time I get paid. It's not a lot, but it's better than nothing.
Part 3.
What forms of communication do you usually use to give good news to your friends?
There are several ways that I tell people good news, but the method I prefer most is to make telephone calls. Calling is the quickest way to reach people. By placing a call, I can let my friends know the good news and discuss it right away. However, if it isn't possible to call, I send the news via text message. Even if people can't answer the phone because they're at work or in class, they can usually still read a text message.
How has the news changed from the past?
The most significant change the news has undergone is that it is now accessible online. Before, people had to subscribe to newspapers or watch television news reports to get information. This meant that they sometimes did not learn about an event until hours after it occurred. In contrast, news reports are now instantly published online and constantly updated. Furthermore, with the invention of smartphones, people can get their news anywhere. This is especially true in Korea, where nearly all adults have these devices.
Unit 19. Part 1.
Do you like learning history?
Yes, history is something that interests me a lot. I like to read books, comics, and articles about my country's history. Moreover, I think it is great fun to watch movies and TV miniseries set in ancient Korea.
Do you think learning history is important?
I think that it is important to learn history, especially the history of our country. By studying Korean history, we're studying about the culture of our people and our identity as members of Korean society. Furthermore, history teaches us the mistakes of our ancestors so that we can learn from them.
Have you read any articles or books related to history recently?
Yes, I recently read an article about the life of a Korean independence activist. It covered various aspects of his life and the major achievements he made. It was quite interesting to me because the article contained many details of his life that I didn't know before.
Do you like historical films?
Sure, they are my favorite kinds of movies. More specifically, I love the ones that feature great battles. There are several brilliant generals in Korean history who won seemingly impossible victories. So, movies about these battles are really spectacular and entertaining to watch.
What do you do to learn the history of your country?
Mostly, I learn Korean history through web searches. When I want to know more about specific periods or historical figures, I look for reliable online sources. There is an excellent blog about Korean history that is maintained by a college professor, and I often find relevant information there.
What can we do to encourage interest in history amongst children?
Well, we could try to make more comics and animated movies set in historical periods. Most children are interested in these types of media, so they will surely want to read and watch them. If done correctly, I think they could be quite entertaining as well as educational.
Do you visit history museums often?
I certainly do visit them frequently. Since I love to see artifacts and natural objects from the Goryeo period, I head to museums when I have free time on weekends. Because several history museums in my area hold regular exhibitions of such artifacts, they are the ones I visit most often.
What can students learn by visiting museums?
I think students learn to understand and appreciate history when they go to museums. For example, it is one thing to read about the ingenuity of ancient tools and other cultural objects. However, it is quite another to actually see these relics with one's own eyes. In my opinion, students need to visit museums to realize the importance of their history.
Part 2.
There are many traditions in Korea, but the first that comes to mind is celebrating Chuseok. It is the biggest annual holiday in Korea. During this holiday, people perform rituals and visit ancestral graves to honor their ancestors. Historical records show that Koreans have been celebrating this holiday since at least the 7th century. This makes Chuseok one of the oldest Korean traditions. However, the exact date of the first Chuseok celebration remains a mystery. Chuseok is my favorite Korean tradition for several reasons. The most important is that it gives me the opportunity to see all of my relatives. We all live far apart now, so we don't have many chances to see one another. But we can all meet during Chuseok. It's always great to see our extended family. It is also a great time to enjoy traditional Korean foods. There are several items that are usually only made for Chuseok. This includes a rice cake called songpyeon. They are filled with a special honey and sesame filling, and they're the best things ever. Just thinking about them makes my mouth water.
Part 3.
How are traditions different today than they were in the past?
First, most holiday rituals are becoming simpler and briefer. For example, ceremonies for the Korean Thanksgiving holiday, Chuseok, previously lasted 3 days, and preparations began well in advance. However, they are now simpler and usually take 1 day. Some people don't even do that. They use the holiday to travel abroad instead. Second, our traditional outfit, the hanbok, has also undergone changes. Today, the hanbok is not regarded as an everyday outfit. We now only wear it for special occasions, like weddings and funerals.
What do you think about traditions disappearing?
I know that many people have different opinions about disappearing traditions, but I have mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, preserving our heritage is important. We should ensure that traditional songs, stories, and activities do not disappear. Conversely, some traditions do not really fit modern society, so it's natural to lose them and develop new traditions. For instance, traditional ceremonies and ancestral rituals in Korea are expensive and time-consuming. Therefore, people choose to simplify them. This seems reasonable and inevitable.
Part 2.
I'd like to talk about Gyeongbok Palace, which is the most memorable historic building I've visited. Gyeongbok Palace was built in the 1300s and remained the Chosun dynasty's main royal palace until Japanese invaders burned it to the ground in the late 16th century. It remained in ruins until it was restored 300 years later. Since it's not far from my house, I visit the palace at least once a month. However, when the weather's great, I go every weekend. I am always awed by the palace complex's beauty. It is breathtakingly beautiful since it was constructed on a grand scale to show the majesty and dignity of the king. In fact, it contains more than 7,700 rooms. However, some of the most impressive elements are the hete carved onto the palace's stone and wood front walls. These mythical lion-unicorn hybrids were thought to offer protection from disasters such as fires. Whenever I visit the palace, it gives me some odd feelings. For one, when I went wearing a traditional Korean outfit, a hanbok, I felt like a member of the ancient royal family. Seeing the intricate construction also made me think about how advanced the builders were. Even without modern tools, including nails, they built a sturdy, magnificent palace.
Part 3.
What do people think when they see historic buildings?
First, people are astonished by the beauty and intricate design of historic buildings when they see them. This is because many old buildings are exquisitely decorated. People who see them are often amazed that people could build these beautiful, elaborate structures so long ago. Second, they probably think about the background of the structure and all the historic things that probably happened there. For example, when people see Gyeongbok Palace in Korea, they probably think of stories they've heard about the imperial family that once lived there.
Are people in your country interested in history?
Individual interests differ from person to person, but I think most Korean people are very interested in history. That's because history lessons begin early on in Korean schools and continue through all educational levels. Students are taught the importance of their history and become proud of their country at a very young age. In addition, many Korean television programs and movies portray fictional stories using real historical figures or periods. These are very popular with the general public. I guess that shows how interested in history Korean people are.
Unit 20. Part 1.
Tell me about a noise that you can hear around your home.
Most of the noises I hear around my apartment are those of animals and birds. One of my neighbors has a puppy, and sometimes it makes a howling noise at night. Moreover, pigeons like to sit on my apartment's balcony rails, so I often hear them in the morning.
What kinds of sounds do you like?
My favorite sound is that of the ocean waves gently breaking onto the shore. It is one of the reasons that I sometimes go to the beach. The sound is not only soothing and relaxing, but it also reminds me of the time I used to live near the sea.
What kinds of sounds do you dislike?
I don't like most loud noises. For instance, I hate the sounds of sirens, alarms, car horns, and engine noises. Moreover, I sometimes get annoyed by loud music, such as heavy metal, too.
In which kind of place do you prefer to work or study? A noisy place or a quiet place?
I like places that are slightly noisy. When I work or study in quiet places like libraries, I have to be careful not to make loud noises myself. As a result, I'm too uncomfortable to concentrate on my task. On the other hand, if there's too much noise, I get distracted by it, so I become unproductive.
Do you think there is a lot of noise in your city or town?
I think my town is relatively quiet. There aren't any loud places such as airports or big construction sites in my area. Even though I can sometimes hear the blaring of car horns, it happens very rarely and doesn't bother me much.
Are traffic jams a big issue in your city?
They certainly are one of the biggest problems our city faces. I live in a big city with a lot of cars, so traffic becomes really slow at times. Because of that, I am sometimes late for appointments or classes, even when I leave home early.
What can you do to help reduce traffic jams?
One of the contributions I can make to reducing traffic jams is using the subway more often. From what I see, traffic jams happen when there are too many private vehicles on the road. Therefore, by taking the subway instead of driving, I'll be reducing the number of cars on the road.
Do you obey the law all the time?
Yes, I almost always abide by the law, and I think it is important to do so. However, I sometimes jaywalk when there are no oncoming cars. Even though I'm aware that it's not the right thing to do, I sometimes can't resist when I'm late for something.
Part 2.
There are so many important laws, but some of the most important laws are copyright laws. Copyright laws are regulations that protect the creators of intellectual content, such as music, movies, and books. They prevent the distribution of someone's work without their permission. I first learned about copyright laws from an advertising campaign that urged people to respect copyrights. As a middle school student, I never really knew about copyrights and just downloaded songs and movies illegally. However, the government ran an ad campaign, and I learned that what I had been doing was wrong. I never downloaded anything without paying after that again. I think copyright laws are important for several reasons. First, they ensure that creators get paid for their work. Without copyright protection, everything would be copied, and creators wouldn't make money. Therefore, they would not be able to afford to make anything else. In addition, copyrights put creators at ease. With copyright protection, they know that their work is protected from being copied, so they don't have to worry. This allows them to dedicate themselves to creating more.
Part 3.
Do you think people would prefer to be police officers or lawyers?
I think individual preferences differ from person to person, but today I think more people in Korea would prefer to be police officers. This is because police work provides more stability than being an attorney. In Korea, police officers are seen as some of the most secure public servant positions. They earn a steady income until they retire, and they receive a government pension as well after retirement. Due to the difficult job market these days, a lot of people want to find secure jobs, and being an officer seems quite attractive.
Does society need police officers?
I'd have to say that police officers are necessary for society. First of all, police officers are important for maintaining public safety. For instance, they lock up murderers and robbers. This prevents criminals from committing more crimes, which keeps people safe. Furthermore, they help maintain traffic safety and flow. They ensure that people do not drive too fast or get behind the wheel when they are intoxicated.
Part 2.
I've been to several polluted places, but the first one that comes to mind is Gyeongpo Beach, which is located in Korea's Gangwon province. I visited this place with my family for summer vacation last year. I checked it out online and saw many beautiful pictures. In the pictures, I could see powdery sand and clear water. There was also a pine grove nearby, so people can enjoy both the ocean and the forest. So I decided to visit with my family to enjoy this beautiful environment. Unfortunately, it didn't live up to my expectations. The beach was pretty polluted, unlike the pictures we had seen. There was trash everywhere. Firework debris, empty bottles, and garbage covered the beach. There was even trash floating in the water. It was really gross. Seeing this, I didn't know how to feel. I was disappointed, but I was sad as well. This is one of Korea's most beautiful landscapes, but people carelessly trashed it. I also felt a bit angry at how thoughtless we all are. If we were all a little more responsible and did our part to protect the environment, this would not have happened.
Part 3.
What is the biggest environmental issue these days?
There are so many environmental concerns out there, but I think the biggest one today is global warming. This is causing widespread habitat loss for animals in colder ecosystems like the polar bear. Global warming is also negatively impacting humans. As temperatures rise, polar ice caps melt and cause sea levels to rise. This could be a huge threat to people who live in coastal areas where rising sea levels will lead to flooding.
What can we do to improve the environment?
To begin with, we can switch to renewable energy. Fossil fuels such as coal and petroleum are major contributors to environmental pollution. Switching to clean, renewable energy sources like solar and wind would reduce environmental damage. In addition, we can refrain from wasting energy. For example, instead of driving, people can use public transportation, walk, or ride bikes to get where they need to go.